Welcome to today's lesson on inverse functions. This comes from your homework, which is page 442 to 444, numbers 1 through 11 odd, 15, 17, 19, 22, 23, 25, 39, 43, and 47. So we're going to do 3 problems from today's homework, starting with number 3. It says, find the equation for the inverse relation. Well, we learned in class that inverses, right, are opposite, or they undo the other function. And to find an inverse, we simply have to swap our x's and our y's. So I'm going to swap places with my x and my y, and then I solve for y again. So I'm going to rewrite this as x equals 4y minus 1. And now I'm going to solve for y to get the inverse function. So I'm going to start to get y by itself by adding 1 to both sides. That gives me x plus 1 equals 4y, and then I divide by 4. So my inverse function is x plus 1 over 4 equals y. I could also write this as 1/4 x plus 1/4 equals y. Either of those are correct. Okay, let's take a look at the next problem. Number 17. Number 17 asks us to verify that f and g are inverse functions. So to verify, what we need to do is the composite functions, f of g of x and conversely g of f of x, to make sure that when we do the composite, that we end up with x as our answer. So let's start out with f of g of x. Okay, f of g of x, I'm going to plug in g of x, which is 4x to the 1/3, into f of x. So let's go ahead and do that. So my f of x is 1/4, but instead of x now I'm going to write down this. 4x to the 1/3 power to the 3rd power. So I plugged in everything for g of x into the x of f of x. Well, I want to sort my powers first, and 3 times 1/3 is 1, so they undo each other. And now I have 1/4 times 4x. Now I can multiply 1/4 times 4, that's 1, or 1x, which is just x. So far, f of g of x is correct. So now let's try g of f of x. So I'm going to plug f of x into g of x. So my g of x is 4 times, and I'm going to plug in whatever f of x is, which is 1/4 x to the 3rd power, and take all of that to the 1/3 power. Well, I'm going to start from the inside out here, and I can actually multiply 4 times 1/4 x to the 3rd, and that gives me just x to the 3rd, because 4 times 1/4 is 1. So this becomes x to the 3rd to the 1/3 power. Well, 3 to the 1/3 power, that gives me 1, which is just x to the 1st power, or x. So I have verified with both function compositions that I will get x as my answer, and that says that then my functions are inverses. Okay, last problem we'll do today is number 22. Number 22 says, find the inverse of the power function. So the function they gave me is f of x equals x to the 7th power. The first thing I'm going to do before I find my inverse is to rewrite this as y equals x to the 7th power. We know that f of x and y are interchangeable. Now that I do that, I can switch the spots of x and y in order to find my inverse. So this becomes x equals y to the 7th power. And now I'm going to solve for y in order to get my inverse. Well, to undo the 7th power, I have to do the 7th root. When I do that, I'm going to have the 7th root of x equals y. So this is my inverse function. Again, if I want to rewrite this, I could write that the inverse of f of x is equal to the 7th root of x. And that's another way to write it. If you have any questions, please see me or Mr. Daniels, and have a great time doing your homework.